Program, B.S. English. Course, Literary Criticism. Topic, Wordsworth's Rationale for Rustic Themes in Preface to the Lyrical Ballads. Prepared by Dr. Shahryar Khan. Question. In the preface to Lyrical Ballads, William Wordsworth advocates the use of rural and rustic themes in poetry. What are his arguments? Introduction. In his preface to the Lyrical Ballads, William Wordsworth declared that he would choose incidents and situations from humble and rustic life as the theme of his poems. His aim was to shift the focus of poetry away from urban settings and toward nature. This move was not just a formal device, but it has profound philosophical and psychological implications. His rationale is built upon the idea that rustic life is simpler and closer to nature. In such a setting, human feelings and passions find better expression. He rejects the neoclassical idea of poetry based upon imitation of urban manners and classical literature. The urban way of living is artificial and affected and alienates human beings from their real essence. Wordsworth seeks to express the universal human spirit through poetry. M. H. Abrams writes that before the preface, poetry was considered to be a mirror that only reflected or imitated. After the preface, poetry became a lamp, giving off its own light and illuminating the surroundings. The preface marks the shift from the imitative theory of art, the mirror, to the expressive theory, the lamp. Point 1. Wordsworth states that he has chosen low and rustic life because in that condition, the essential passions of the heart find a better soil in which they can attain their maturity, are less under restraint, and speak a plainer and more emphatic language. His argument is that the essential passions like love, grief, fear, etc. have a natural growth in a rural environment. He has used metaphor of soil to suggest fertility and setting for the growth. On the other hand, in the urban settings, these essential passions are suppressed. The urban city dwellers are expected to behave in a certain manner and expression of emotions is not considered appropriate. The rural people have direct connection with nature. They experience feelings and emotions in a direct manner. As they do not have any social vanities and artificial manners, they respond more honestly to their surroundings. This authenticity and purity make rustic life a better subject for poetry. Point 2. Wordsworth is of the view that urban life is superficial and transitory. It is always changing due to fashion, politics and other social trends. While in the rural settings, the passions of men are associated with beautiful and permanent forms of nature. People living in rural areas are constantly in contact with natural elements such as seasons, landscapes, weather, and agricultural cycles. This interaction creates a strong bond between their inner emotional life and the external environment. The rustic people hourly communicate with the best objects from which the best part of language is originally derived. Because of this direct communion with nature's permanent forms, their feelings and emotions are more durable and philosophical. This permanence gives it a universal and general aspect which is the proper subject of poetry. For Wordsworth, this union of man and nature is essential to poetry as it allows the poet to explore profound emotional and philosophical truths. Nature not only reflects human emotions but also elevates and refines them. Therefore, rural life, with its intimate connection to nature, provides the poet with rich material that is both beautiful and meaningful, making it central to Wordsworth's poetic theory. Point 3. Rustic people use simple and direct language without any kind of ornamentation. Their speech is not the product of social conventions and vanities, but it arises naturally out of their experiences and observations. Wordsworth believes that such language is better suited for poetry because it expresses feelings with more sincerity. If the poet uses such diction, he can form a better connection with the reader. This is an attempt to democratize language. Neoclassical poets used an elitist language which is far removed from real human experience. Wordsworth's advocacy of rustic themes also includes the use of rustic language as this language is accessible to all. If poetry is the medium to express universal truths, it should use language that is understood by all classes of people. M. H. Abrams comments on Wordsworth's diction in these words. Wordsworth's real language is not a linguistic fact, but a symbol of sincerity, a protest against the divorce of poetry from the life of the heart. Point 4. For Wordsworth, poetry is not an imitative art but an expression of the soul of man. It is a journey within, and this journey can only take place in rural setting as it is closer to nature. In his time, urbanization and industrialization have just begun, and these were having deep impacts on both the individual and the society. Wordsworth thought that this transition is alienating man from himself and nature. Poetry is the medium that can re-establish this connection. By presenting ordinary things, in an unusual aspect, the poet can reawaken the reader's organic sensibility. This can be achieved if we return to nature and rustic life. William Hazlitt thinks that Wordsworth's justification of rustic themes in poetry originates from the spirit of equality, as he believes that nothing is loftier than human hopes. Conclusion. To conclude, we can say that Wordsworth's defense of rustic themes in Preface is based upon psychological, linguistic, and moral arguments. He strongly believed that artificial urban life would alienate man from his real essence. By linking human passion to the permanent forms of nature and advocating for a real language of men, Wordsworth succeeded in making the common person the hero of modern literature. He shifted the focus of poetry from elite urban life to simple natural setting. Wordsworth's Rustic is, in the end, the universal man, the man speaking to men about the eternal truths that bind us all together. Fr. Levy comments. Wordsworth's interest in the common life is not a matter of choice of subject merely, but of a profound moral insight.